Hi, you guys. My mailman just arrived, and he is a homeschool family, and he knows what it means when a whole bunch of book boxes start to arrive around this time of year. So since I hadn't opened up a box in front of you guys before, I thought I would open one and also show you some of the stuff that's coming in that we're going to use as literature or literature books or reading books with history. So I'm going to open them up. I never get a satisfying pull, though. I don't remember ordering this. Okay, in no particular order. Warriors Don't Cry, the Syrian memoir of the battle to integrate Little Rock's Central High. If you were around at that time, like my parents were, oh my goodness, the stories that my mom and dad can tell me and Morgan about the struggle to integrate and the difficulties. And also, especially with my mother, she was a member of the National Organization for Women, and many of the neighbors did not appreciate that. And so my mom has amazing women's lib stories to tell that she told me and that she can now tell Morgan. So we're not going to use this year. I'm pre-buying a lot of stuff to kind of get my own arms and my own head and my own heart wrapped around what I need to teach and how I need to teach it. The Butchering Art. This is Joseph Lester's quest to transform the grisly world of Victorian medicine. I have a couple of these. You're going to see a running theme because we are starting in the History of the World Volume 2. We are starting in the medieval era. And as we tried to learn about medicine and did some pretty crazy things, I wanted to read about it because I think it's kind of an interesting thing to incorporate into history. And I'm going to pre-read. Yeah, this is kind of an adulty kind of book. I'm going to pre-read this so that I can use what I learn to then bring it into my conversation with Morgan as we learn history. And this one is How to Read Poetry Like a Professor, a quippy and sonorous guide to verse. I'm reading everything on what people think of poetry, how we view it, how we read it, how it's structured. We're just really getting into poetry, and I want to read all of the stuff that I can on that. So this one is actually for me, or maybe for Morgan later if she wants to. Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray. I'm going to reread this and then determine what age I want to do that in. No Fear Shakespeare, Twelfth Night. I already have one, but since, and I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, since I want to read this jointly with Morgan, when I do joint reads, I usually buy two of the same books. And particularly for this one, because as we read it, what I think I'm going to do is highlight her reading portion, and then I'll highlight my reading portion, and we will act it out, just sitting. We don't have to run around acting it, but after we've gone through or watched the play, after we have learned about Shakespeare, then we'll sit down and we can spend a week or two reading it aloud to each other, kind of for fun. And this one is Twelfth Night. And then in prep for, if she likes it, in prep for the next one, another No Fear Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing. So let's see. Okay, now we have Dr. Medieval Medicine in the Middle Ages. Loads of gross little pictures here. And some, I actually can't tell if they're original medicine art prior to photography. They drew pictures. And I have to kind of double check that this isn't, it looks like they're originals, and so it could be original art before we had the photography to document that sort of thing. The Inner Life of Animals. After I got The Secret Life of Octopus and I'm almost finished with The Secret Life of Lobsters. I may have gotten those titles wrong. I can Since I picked up Cy Montgomery's book on octopus and her scientific story, and then I'm in the middle of reading The Secret Life of Lobsters, which is really interesting, I thought I would pick this up and pre-read and see if it's something that we can read together, because we're on a farm out here, and one of my best friends has a whole bunch of animals, and she has the funniest stories about her animals and how they all get along. So I thought I would read this and see if it would be something that I could integrate or read it aloud to her later. I bought this because of Prayers and Crayons, and she had suggested it on her YouTube video. It came 2 days ago. Morgan's finished it. She devoured it, and I have to say, there's some violence in here because it's war. It's what happened with, if you don't know him, Mohammed Najm. He's a reporter now, and he started reporting after Syria became very violent. He started reporting on what was happening with kids, with his family, with neighbors, and CNN picked it up, and now this is the graphic novel. I would say that the graphic novel would probably be better than a story because it does show him and it gives you imagery that perhaps a child couldn't exactly, unless they watch the news, exactly put in their minds in appropriate context. There's some blood in here. Look through it if you're interested in it. Morgan just ripped through it. She had so many questions, and we were talking about Arab Spring and what it was like when I was overseas, what Iraq was like, what does Arabic sound like, everything. What does this boy look like now? And so we Googled him. Where is he now? He's a 21-year-old young adult male, still working as a reporter. And Morgan just loved talking about this book, reading about it, and researching the subject matter around it. Then this one is now I'm not advocating you buy this book because I haven't read it yet, and I really was a sucker to the cover and also the pages in it. So I know that it's important to care about if it's a good book. I bought it for the cover. This is by the late Kobe Bryant. He had this story idea and he found an author to write it with him. It's beautiful, and I like the idea that it's about an interesting sports school. But the pages are all different colors. I'm just such a sucker for it. And we're going to read it for sure. So when we do, I'll let you know if it's any good. If you want to wait to buy it, which I think you should. Don't buy it just because I did. Now, this one is The Plague and Medicine in the Medieval Ages. Same as the other book. Probably, I don't know. Yeah. Yep. This one's just as gross. And, yeah, loads of information about medicine in here and how it was done back in the day and how we learned. The same author who wrote The Inner Life of Animals, and this is Peter Wohlleben, he wrote a younger kids book, because this is not a picture book. There aren't any pictures in here. This is text. He wrote another book. He's got one on trees as well. But since I already bought that one as maybe an older, more adult book, I bought his children's version of the one about trees. Because there is a podcast, and I wish if I could find it, I'll link it, about trees and how they behave and how they integrate with each other underground. It's just so fascinating to listen to. And since I am a avid gardener and a micro farmer, I love anything. I dig anything on botany and trees and flowers and vegetables and all that stuff. So I thought that I would get this from Morgan and I because it's essentially the book only with pictures. Is that it? Oh, don't you hate it when you're done? I always wish that there were more. Like accidentally, when you find a $5 bill in your pocket and you feel like you're rich. Well, I don't have any more books. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful homeschool day. See ya.